In the year 1950, Jackson Pollock created a masterpiece in New York. This painting is titled One, Number 31, 1950. This piece measures 8 feet 10 inches by 17 feet 5 inches. Pollock was a master of using controlled drips of paint from his brush to create visual interest and movement. Number 31, 1950 is a very important piece to show that the drip technique is actual art and not just a bunch of random lines thrown onto a canvas. About 2/3 of the way down the canvas there is a horizontal line which is made up of multiple drips that grounds the painting. It gives the viewer a sense of stability because with all of the other directions of the drips it would be too much for the eye and brain to take in. Most of the white paint is in the middle of the piece, which gives the composition a starting point in the middle and goes outward. There is not a definite stopping point to the outer edge of the piece. Pollock would usually paint on an unprimed canvas, so there is a border of canvas around the drips themselves. There is depth to the piece from all the layers of paint that Pollock put onto the canvas. The more earthy tones are seen in the piece, while in the foreground, the black and white add contrast to the composition. One, Number 31, 1950 was very innovative. No artist had used a technique such as drip painting before. In the Expressionism era, Van Gogh was one of the most popular artists and his work had subject matter in it. Example, The Starry Night. There are recognizable objects in the painting even though there are brushstrokes visible in the composition. In One, Number 31, 1950, there is no subject matter, and rather than brushstrokes, there are looping chords and calligraphy of color achieved by pouring paint onto the canvas. This provides movement and energy for the eye to follow. The Starry Night also had movement to the piece with the brushstrokes that are present. Both of these pieces are high in contrast. One, Number 31 has blacks and whites right next to each other, and in The Starry Night there are light blues and yellows with the tall, dark, almost completely black object in the foreground. Pollock would pour paint directly onto the canvas that was lying on the floor of his studio. Most artists would want to paint on an easel, but not Pollock. He would walk around the unprimed canvas with his brush and bucket in hand. Jackson Pollock's One, Number 31, 1950 is important for three major reasons. The first reason is that the piece is one of Pollock's largest paintings with the technique that he pioneered. Next, the piece showed artists from all over what was possible with art. It did not have to be representational and could just have movement, energy, and be visually appealing. The last reason of why this piece is important is that Pollock did not give this painting an actual title. The title is just a bunch of numbers in the year that it was painted. Jackson wanted to leave the interpretation up to the viewer to make his or her own conclusions about the work.